Welcome back, everybody. We've arrived to our third and last session related to the Self-Worth Week, which is taking place this week online on Zoom. And this time I'm going to talk about compassion, self-compassion, and the title. Let me share the screen. Is related to this image that most of you, I'm sure, are familiar with. I asked a dear friend to draw an image that I've seen a million times on planes when we used to fly. And that has always been very interesting and in many ways a bit counterintuitive, like many other aspects of mindfulness, of self-worth and self-compassion. That is, at a first sight, it looks like something a bit selfish to take care of ourselves, to put on our own mask first. But actually, we know very well from experience that this is necessary in order to be able to help other people, including children. So this is very interesting. It's an interesting lesson, especially for parents, for people that are taking care of others, so caregivers, for educators. Very often, even for therapists, actually, very often they tend to forget that they need to take care of themselves as well, and actually before they can do that with others. Today, we're going to do this through self-compassion, which is a big, big part, not only of mindfulness, but also of therapy nowadays. There is a very beautiful definition that I found on Petit Bamboo, a meditation app that I'm currently translating into Italian. A definition of compassion as love applied to suffering. It's so straightforward and so clear. And this is exactly what we do. So, self compassion is love applied to our own suffering, following the previous image. So, starting with ourselves. So, today I would like to invite you. Let me go quickly to our practice. Here we go. I'd like to invite you to practice together, starting from the standpoint of self-worth, which we have explored thoroughly this week with John Nyland, the author of the Self-Worth Safari book, and his whole team, including me, of associates, and many other special guests. So, as we know, self-worth is something innate, is our own self-love, our own sense of value, regardless of what's going on around us. So, unconditional of our performance, of any external inputs, of anything happening in our lives, of any social comparison as well. And in many ways, it's very close to the concept of self compassion. And it uses a very similar approach in identifying some sort of mantras or some reassuring, some supporting rather sentences that we might tell ourselves. And so before we even start our practice, which I'm going to draw from Christine Neff's Self Compassion Break, I would invite you to think of your personal mantra. What, maybe in this specific time, at this specific time, because it might change over time, what is the most useful thing that a dear friend could tell you? What do you need exactly to hear right now? And I would like you to start really this reflection in a more formal meditation. So maybe let's start by sitting in our meditation posture. Relaxed, our shoulders down, but supporting our back. Our chin slightly tilted forward, eyes closed. Now really going inside. Connecting first of all with our body, feeling if there are any sensations that are calling for our attention right now. If there's any small adjustment that would make it feel a bit more comfortable, in this case, we can do it. We can move mindfully. Breathing into any tensions we might find, not expecting them to disappear, but inviting them to relax, wishing them to loosen up with a kind approach as we're used to doing. And then connecting to something that does not quite feel right in this moment of our lives. It can be a general state of mind, some lack of energy, some general lack of motivation, of sadness, even a slight depression, or maybe something a bit more specific related to something that has happened, a personal or professional relation, a specific worry. Let's try not to pick anything too intense. We don't want to have anything traumatic going on inside of us. Let's start with a small thing that is annoying, is saddening us. And really, let's bring to our minds the situation, the general feeling. Do we feel it anywhere in the body, first of all? How does it express itself, this unpleasant feeling? Can we even visualize the situation, a specific situation where we feel like that? What happened or what might happen if it's a worry? Who said what? So, really bringing this situation or this general feeling to life. Seeing if it's possible to welcome or at least to make space for this feeling, trying to work with it, acknowledging that it's here. This is the awareness given by mindfulness. And it's the first step to work on it, to make sure that it doesn't overwhelm us. So the first of the 3 steps that we're going to go through is the one of awareness, of mindfulness. And we can express that with a sentence by saying to ourselves something like, this is a moment of suffering or frustration or anything else if you want to be more specific. But here you can use your creativity and especially what feels right for you right now. So you can say something like, this is really hard, or I'm really struggling, or even just ouch, which for an Italian would be ai. Whatever is the best expression of the fact that you're feeling this unpleasant emotion. Suffering or something unpleasant is present right now. We are aware of it. We are acknowledging it. And after this acknowledgement, there is a second step that I invite you to take. And it's the step that allows us to realize that suffering, or whatever we want to call it, this unpleasant moment is actually part of life. And here we're not trying to minimize it at all. It can be something extremely unpleasant, extremely difficult. We're just saying that it's part of being a human being. And this makes us feel closer to other human beings. We feel connected. There is a common humanity here. We don't feel disconnected, isolated, separated. And so here again, using the language that works best for us, we can tell ourselves, it's not abnormal to feel this way. Or many people go through this situation to a different degree, with a different flavor. But I'm not alone in this. Very often it's the aloneness, the separation that makes our suffering much, much greater. And again, I invite you to find the right words for you, to express this feeling part of a whole, part of mankind, including as far as experiencing negative emotions is concerned. Almost hugging all these people that you can maybe visualize that currently are feeling something similar to you. And maybe imagining with the next in-breath that you're synchronizing your breath with all these people. And you're all taking a breath, realizing that there is suffering, and releasing the air, wishing yourselves to be fine, to be free of suffering. And this actually brings us to the third part, which is the part that is the most relevant also for self-worth. And so the invitation is, as I said before, to think of what words you need to hear right now. If a friend came to you, what words would you like this friend to say? Or what words would you say to a friend who feels like you feel right now? Or maybe to a child, if that enhances your kindness, your care, your support. Again, you know what works best for you. So here you can use, if you already have it, your self-worth mantra, or you can just make up one right now, depending on the specific situation. So it could be, I'm here for you. It's going to be okay. We can face this together. I care for you. You can even call yourself by your name and say, for example, maybe even touching your heart with your hand. Claudia, I'm so sorry you're feeling this way. Or darling, or whatever you feel like using. Finding the appropriate words to wish to be well and free of suffering. And then letting go of the practice and feeling how the body feels right now. Keeping your eyes closed for the next few minutes. Allowing any sensations, thoughts, emotions to emerge and be just as they are. We have all the space for all of them. And because part of this is possible thanks to our self-worth and to our willingness of being imperfect, that is also of forgiving ourselves for all of our mistakes, all of our imperfections. For a couple of minutes, I invite you to keep your eyes closed while I'm going to read quite a long poem, but a very, very strong one. The title is Phase 1 by Dilruba Ahmed. For leaving the fridge open last night, I forgive you. For conjuring white curtains instead of living your life. For the seedlings that wilt now in tiny pots, I forgive you. For saying no first, but yes as an afterthought. I forgive you for hideous visions after childbirth, brought on by loss of sleep. And when the baby woke repeatedly for your silent rebuke in the dark, what's your beef? I forgive your letting vines overtake the garden, for fearing your own propensity to love, for losing again your bag en route from San Francisco, for the equally heedless drive back on the caffeine-fueled return. I forgive you for leaving windows open in rain and soaking library books again, for putting forth only revisions of yourself with punctuation worked over instead of the disordered truth. I forgive you. For singing mostly when the shower drowns your voice. For so admiring the drummer you failed to hear the drum. In forgotten tin cans may forgiveness gather, pooling in gutters, gushing from pipes, a great steady rain of olives from branches, relieved of cruelty and petty meanness. With it, a flurry of wings, 13 grey pigeons, ointment reserved for healers and prophets. I forgive you. I forgive you for feeling awkward and nervous without reason, for bearing Keith's empty vessel with such calm you worried you had perhaps no moral center at all, for treating your mother with contempt when she deserved compassion. I forgive you. I forgive you. I forgive you. For growing a capacity for love that is great, but matched only, perhaps, by your loneliness. For being unable to forgive yourself first, so you could then forgive others, and at last find a way to become the love that you want in this world. For being unable to forgive yourself first, so you could then forgive others and at last find a way to become the love that you want in this world. So, forgiving ourselves first, putting on our own mask first. Thank you for joining me in this practice.